It's Argentina's national dance. It's called the tango. The tango is a dance that defies description. It can be fast or slow, intricately choreographed or completely improvised. Sometimes it has the stylish elegance of a ballroom dance. Sometimes the stylized staccato of a barroom duel. Someone once described it as a war between legs. The tango has been a part of Argentine culture throughout this century, but it may not survive into the next one. The tango has its admirers all over the world, and actor Robert Duvall is one of them. He comes to Buenos Aires about once a year to immerse himself in the tango and the legendary milongueros who dance it.
This club is where we saw Fino dance about 6 years ago when we first came down. If I had never seen Fino dance, I would have, you know, it's hopefully helped my dancing. I mean, the guy was awesome, I thought. There's probably a milonguero coming now, I'll bet you, isn't it? Okay, let's go. Chattel.
For some Argentines, the tango is a way of life. During the day, they can be cooks or bankers, or like Fino was before his death, a car salesman. But at night, everything changes. At night, they become milongueros, tango dancers. A milonga is a dance at a neighborhood social club that starts an hour or two before midnight and lasts until 4 or 5 in the morning, weekdays included. Although many people think of the tango as a flamboyant dance, the essence of the milonguero style is subtlety.
To go to a milonga and to be a milonguero is to be a tango dancer. When I came down here after 1 year, thinking I knew a lot, in a way I knew, it's like an actor having to unlearn bad habits. Had to go back to a basic premise that appeals to me more anyway, and that's the milonguero style. I think everything's offhand. Like someone said, to dance tango, you should stay very calm. Fino called it dulce, called it sweetness. Now, who would ever think of tango as sweetness? And he was brilliant.
Today, that sweetness may be waning. With every passing year, fewer people show up at the milongas, and those who do come tend to be older. But that's probably appropriate. The tango is about love and longing and loss. At a milonga, an air of nostalgic melancholy is almost a requirement. A true milonguero dances as much with the face as with the feet. No one knows exactly when the tango began to exercise its peculiar hold over the Argentine imagination. But by the turn of the century, it was popular in poorer neighborhoods, like this one, called La Boca. Like many famous tango couples, Juan Carlos Copes and Maria Nieves grew up in the slums and danced their way out.
Hey, 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 la gran parejo, el rey y la reina. ¿Qué tal, amigo?
Eran otros hombres, más hombres los nuestros.
Gracias. How you been? Good?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while. You been behaving yourself?
Yeah.
You been good?
Bien, ¿y cómo estás?
Okay.
Copes and Nieves grew up when tango music could be heard everywhere in Buenos Aires. At the milongas, on the radio, in the streets. They have been dancing together since they were teenagers.
I think the tango, the way it's danced, is like they keep saying, it's very individualistic. When they dance, it's their own style. Very, very connected. There's a man and there's a woman. And you'll never see that more clearly than when you see Nieves and Copes dance. There's a history there of a man and a woman. And it's definitely that.
Era muy tronco, muy malo.
Copes wasn't always a good dancer. When he started out, he was stiff as a board.
No, profesora. Él bailaba con todas las mujeres porque
Girls only danced with him because he was
muy
handsome.
linda pinta, pero no sabía bailar. Y después se fue y volvió.
Then he
a los
spent
2
2 years
años
at the
y
milongas,
bailaba
and
muy
when he
bien,
came back, he could dance
bastante,
elegantly.
con un estilo como el que tiene ahora.
And
Ahora ya
now
está
he's
viejo,
old, but he
pero
still dances very well.
Es el maestro.
He's the maestro.
Both on the right leg. You know, en la mano, diferente.
Incluso aquí.
If you feel comfortable placing your hand like this, that's fine.
Cada uno es un
Every person has a distinct personality.
sentimiento distinto. Lo importante
The important thing is that the man and the woman, at the moment of contact, feel united.
Acá hubo mucha inmigración. Vinieron muchos hombres.
At the turn of the century, a lot of men came to the city, from Italy, from Germany, from Russia. They were men without women. They were outsiders, far from home. They needed a handshake, a friendly embrace, a hug. They found it in the tango. Under the gaslights, in the warehouses, they practiced the steps they would take to the brothels. The tango is a dialogue without words, where you find the embrace you always wanted.
What evolved from these somber encounters was a distinctive male style, a self-conscious bravado in the face of constant loneliness.
Well, I think it's a city that's on the other side of the world. There's an arrogance, a self-confidence, but it's always, and I think that's always accompanied by a certain insecurity. They may be thinking positive thoughts about something or you or whatever, but you don't get that. It's like there's always a veneer of, like, you know, a little mask. And I think that there's always, they say that nostalgia for where they came from. Always that longing for other things, you know.
That longing for other things was personified by one of the most famous and beloved figures in Argentina's history. He was a tango singer who died in a plane crash at the age of 44. His name was Carlos Gardel.
Symbolizes talent. He symbolizes really the tango, Gardel. Is he like Elvis? He is like Elvis in a way, I'd say, even more so. They both had, you know, premature deaths, but I think if you magnified Elvis by maybe 5 or 6 times, you'd have Gardel.
He's something very special to the people here that maybe I wouldn't understand.
El barrio latino, gente de nuestra raza, lírica y apasionada, visionarios que vinieron a conquistar la gran ciudad y que sueñan en volver. Como nosotros, ¿quién nos diera nuestra patria chica? Tus mañanitas provincianas.
Gardel's death in 1935 provoked a tumultuous outpouring of grief. When his body was returned to Buenos Aires, the funeral procession stretched for miles. Half a century later, people still pay their respects to the man they call Carlitos.
El último. Sí, sí, sí.
Sí, y sigue viviendo. Sigue viviendo el alma, claro.
Como un santo, ¿eh?
Claro,
Más o menos.
es como un santo.
Claro, ese día sí,
Siempre hay
mucha
gente acá. Es igual. Como Boris, sí, actores. Sí, sí, cantantes, sí.
Más que...
The generation that followed Gardel included Juan Carlos Copes and Maria Nieves. They learned the tango in the 1950s, when Argentina was a much different place than it is today.
Lo bueno era de que, siendo chicos, siendo jóvenes,
when we were kids,
ese entorno de música,
there was an atmosphere of national music, tango music.
Y había grandes bailarines en cada barrio.
There were great dancers in every neighborhood, and each neighborhood had its own style.
No saber bailar tango
in those days, not knowing how to dance tango was like not being able to have a girlfriend.
Maria Nieves was 14 when she and Copes fell in love. What followed was a complicated, frequently stormy relationship. In other words, a tango that continues to this day.
Sí, me acuerdo, nos conocimos en el...
We met in the Estrella de Maldonado Club.
Yo me enamoré de...
I fell in love with Copes the first time I saw him.
Uy, está la señora ya.
Look, there's his wife eavesdropping again. Anyway, I fell in love. I liked his type. There was something in the skin.
Lo que más equilibrio había, por altura, por forma de
There was a match in height, a feeling in the way she danced. It was like holding the perfect partner in my arms. I'm not ashamed to confess that sometimes when I danced the tango, tears would flow down my face. But she or any other girl would respect those tears because they understood that a beautiful anguish was flowing from me at that moment.
Si vos me preguntaras si en este momento naciera,
if I were born right now, the system would swallow me up. They'd be telling me what shoes to put on, what pants to wear. I don't know if I'd feel the same as when everything that surrounded me, the whole atmosphere, spoke of tango, milonga, Argentina.
40 years ago, Argentina was relatively isolated from the rest of the world. Television and jet travel had helped to change all that. Over the years, the milonguero style of tango has given way to a flashier, more modern look that plays just as well in New York or Paris as it does down here. It's called show tango, performance tango, tango for export. The future of any culture lies in the hands of the young. The future of the tango lies in their hearts and their feet as well. So Juan Carlos Cope spends time giving free lessons to the next crop of milongueros and aspiring show dancers. But will it make any difference? Maria Nieves isn't sure.
Para mí el tango danza se muere.
I believe the tango is dying. There are lots of good couples, but even they won't amount to much because they weren't breastfed on the tango.
No hay creación.
There's no originality today. Everything is a copy.
Todo es imitación. O sea, vos la ves en el escenario y la ves que son...
You see them on stage and you know they're schooled. Who taught them? Copez or some other teacher. But they don't have it in them to feel the tingle of the tango, so it makes their hair stand on end.
La vida nuestra es un tango. Nos conocimos.
Our life is a tango. We met. We became friends. We got married. We got divorced. But we are still an artistic marriage. When we are performing a tango, maybe I hate her, or she hates me, or loves me, or needs me, or I need her. If at that moment the two of us, without a word, are telling each other how we feel, that's the closest thing I know to complete ecstasy.
Total.
Sí, la vida es un tango, lógico, como no.
Yes, life is a tango, evidently.
La mía es un tango, fíjate.
Look,
Yo no tengo, te voy a decir una cosa
I'm going to
simple.
tell it to you simply.
Yo no tengo hijos.
I don't have any children, but I have tango. The tango for me is my children, my lover, my husband, everything.
I don't think it'll die, ever. It'll be different. It'll be a new thing. I think it's more tango for export now. I think the milongas will always be there, but I think a lot of the young people are learning because they have the Japanese love tango in Germany and so forth. You know, they're for export, the shows. And, you know, Nieves once told me that she wants to dance into the 21st century.
but she also wished that she'd lived further back in time when there were more daggers in tango.
But if the days of daggers in the tango are gone forever, most of what makes it such an appealing dance remains unchanged. And if the tango does finally fade away, it will probably be on its own terms. How else would the tango go out, except sweetly and with style?
Ironically enough, while the tango's future in Argentina is uncertain, it seems to be gaining popularity in other countries around the world. The U.S. was captivated by the Broadway hit Tango Argentino in the mid-80s. And more recently, in Finland, of all places, the tango is a rage, with nearly 2,000 tango clubs across the country. We'll be right back.
Ferocious eagles play chicken in a deadly free-falling battle for